Yo, speaking of AD, I mean, he's technically a free agent. Any chances he a Knick or what?
Nah, no chance. Nah, they're gonna max him.
That's a
They're gonna super max him, extend him. I mean, they're gonna add on to his contract that he had with the Pelicans. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what it was, but they're gonna give him the 4-year, 5th-year option, I think, and they're just gonna max him out.
They're gonna give him whatever contract he wants.
Right.
If he says I want
LeBron gave him the keys already. He's like, yo, it's your team. So like, they're gonna max him
maybe
out.
it's super max, maybe it's not, but it's whatever he wants.
And I think before the season starts, like within these next couple of weeks, you will hear that Anthony Davis is gonna get maxed out, 100%.
I mean, I hope he's not trying to wait to see what Giannis does because that would not be fair.
No. They're gonna repeat. They literally just got better, the Lakers.
Yeah, they did get better.
Giannis does need some more help.
They really did, man. They get Harrell on a pretty favorable deal, right?
Yeah.
2 for 19.
Going cross town.
Yeah.
I think that was an awesome move. And then they get Schroeder too, who I've always liked Schroeder. Like,
I love him.
if Schroeder is for depth, love it. If he's like your starting point guard with not much around you,
there was a report today that came out that he said that he strongly believes he's going to be a starting point guard for the Lakers. And I disagree. I don't think he should be a starting point guard. I think he should be coming off the bench like how he was for the Thunder. What I think the Lakers are going to do again is I think they're going to have LeBron play the point again. It worked last year perfectly. Why change it? You know, LeBron's going to – he's not a traditional one, but he'll be listed as the one, and then they'll just go from there. Wes Matthews was a big pickup. He'll probably start.
He replaces Danny Green.
Yeah.
They pretty much had
which I think is an upgrade. Danny Green played like shit.
I think defensively Danny Green was better. But
better defensively. I think Wes Matthews is a more consistent shooter. The only thing with him is you don't hear much from him. You know, he played on the Pacers.
Yeah.
He played on the Bucks. He was just bouncing around.
Last
Home.
year they put up the exact same stats. Pretty much identical.
Right.
Pretty much identical.
You'll see, though. You'll see what I mean. Like, he's never been in a situation like this before. Danny Green has been in a situation like this a couple of times on the Raptors, on the Spurs.
Yeah.
Wes Matthews never really had a good team.
Danny Green went to Philly?
Yeah. That's a good team, too.
And they finally got some shooting. It's what they needed. I don't know. That roster construction last year did not make any sense.
Yeah.
have you flip-flopped on – what side were you on between Embiid and Simmons? Do you think those two guys could play together? Because that's always like NBA Twitter loves that discussion.
Can they play together? Yes.
They should be able to, no?
Can.
Like, it's not like they're both...
They can, and I think it was definitely harder for them to play together when they didn't have the shooting around them.
Right.
I guess the question is, you know, where are you going to play Ben Simmons? Right? Are you going to play him at point guard? You can't play him at shooting guard. You have to play him at point guard.
Could move him to the 3. He's got the size for it.
Yeah.
My whole thing is they don't feed...
Point. So it'd be better to have shooters in those positions and leave Ben Simmons at the 1.
Absolutely. But, I mean, you have someone like – I mean, this is a wild comparison, but it's true. Someone like Derrick Jones. He's someone that doesn't really shoot, and he comes off the bench athletic. Or he even starts at athletic 3-man.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't really shoot. You know, Ben Simmons could be like that, just more, you know, driving to the basket. But I think – so the Sixers' problem is, I don't know. I watch them play often, especially because I'm doing DFS with the FanDuel and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They don't feed Embiid. Like, there'll be a time, there'll be points in the game where he'll run up and down the court about 5-6 times and not get a touch. And as a big, that's, like, frustrating. And you're like, yo, why am I even, like, hustling?
Especially when you're a guy who's that dominant
and
on
he's
defense.
Dominant.
You want to be
that's
rewarded.
What I mean. And if I'm going to pick a player to move forward with for, like, a franchise player, it's going to be Embiid. 10 out of 10 over Simmons.
The whole injury concern don't bother you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, even last year, okay, he wasn't really that injured. How much time did he miss last year?
Like, I think Ben Simmons needs to, he needs to improve his free throw shooting. I said it last time, right? If he can improve his free throw shooting, he doesn't become a liability on the offense. He's not a liability on the offensive end. I'm saying at the end of games, he gets to the basket. He's that good. He gets to the basket whenever he wants to, pretty much. Even when they didn't have the floor spacers, he was getting to the basket. The issue was, the tape, the scouting reports, everything. Ben Simmons goes to the rim, foul him, don't let him score. Just foul him. Then he goes to the free throw line, and he probably misses. He definitely misses one. Probably misses one. A lot of times goes 0 for 2. Yeah, that is pretty much in the last 5 minutes a game a killer, right? Especially in a close game. You can't be doing that. It destroys it. It destroys. You can't be exchanging zero points, especially when you're versing a team like. Pick any of the top 6 teams in the league. Like you're giving them free chances to get points on you or make up points.
Mm-hmm.
He's 1,000% a liability on offense. You said he wasn't. He can't shoot.
He's a liability if on offense at the end of the game when he can't. Because in the beginning of the games, yes, they're gonna try and foul him obviously when he goes up, but it's not as fine tuned, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the last quarter, the fourth quarter of the game, or in a playoff game,
Yeah.
the level is here. The level of intensity is much higher than it is for a regular season game. So the scatter, all the players know when Ben Simmons goes in, foul him. Period.
The one
and that reduces his effectiveness. If
Right.
he can improve that, if that one thing will improve that team overall significantly.
There's one thing he has to improve, and that's shooting the ball and shooting with confidence. Basketball is all about spacing, and the Sixers are that much easier to defend because Ben Simmons can't shoot. The guy guarding Ben Simmons can guard him 5-6 feet off of him and then help dig down on Embiid.
Collapses on.
You even played basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is very similar to soccer too, with like spacing and
It is,
any sport in general.
He needs to be able
spacing.
to hit some kind of jump shot, but
be confident.
He doesn't
Shoot
need
with
to be the
confidence. He doesn't
best.
shoot the ball.
He just needs to.
He's
He's
got to be able to consistently make a 10, 15-foot jump
if
shot.
He's initiating,
no more.
If he's initiating the offense, he doesn't need to be the guy pulling up.
Or for people to respect it enough.
To the point where you have to get up on him and guard him.
Right.
I don't know if you watched when they played the Bucks on Christmas like 2 years ago, and I forgot, or it might have been the Lakers were playing them when LeBron first got there. LeBron's guarding him like in the paint.
Oh, yo,
do you remember that?
Yeah,
Like,
he was
bro,
at the top of the key.
That's
And he was at the
unacceptable.
free throw line.
It's unacceptable.
Well, that's the thing that Giannis started doing more of this year. He was like maybe like 28% from three, but at least he was like shooting like 5-6 to the point where, all right, yo, he's
least
gonna
get
at
out
least
there.
pull. Like with Simmons, they're letting him shoot and he's not shooting.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that. I want to go back to the Lakers though. So I couldn't agree with you more, Nick, that they definitely got better, right? Like they signed Wes Matthews for depth. I always like Wes Matthews. I feel bad for him because he tore his Achilles and
that's what I'm saying. He never really got a good opportunity to go play with like a good team. I mean, the Bucks, but they had so many players similar to him.
Mm-hmm.
You have Pat Connaughton,
he was on that
DiVincenzo,
team, that young Blazers team. That was
George Hill. Like those are three guys I named that are just like him. Like,
he was on that Blazers team, but it wasn't the Blazers that we know
No,
now.
it wasn't.
It
But
was
it was
before them. It was before them.
That was still Dame was still on that team. That was a young Dame.
Yeah.
So they get Gasol. They
re-signed KCP.
Harrell. They get KCP back. They get Schroeder. And then,
they definitely got better.
Yeah. And if you think about what they're replacing.
And they got Gasol, too. You said Gasol.
Yeah.
Right?
I think just like losing Rondo is probably the biggest one that they lost. Besides that, I feel like you could replace everything with. I mean, Danny Green was getting chewed up on social media about how bad he was in some of those games with the Lakers.
That's what he's there to do, though. Like rightfully so. He got everything he got. He deserved. Not death threats and like stuff to his family. That's over the line. But I mean, you're in the game to make open. He had a lot of open jump shots and missed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one that like hit off the back side of the backboard was crazy. That was crazy. All right, let me start running through some of these, and I want your thoughts on these. One contract that I'm happy the Knicks didn't give is what's going on in Charlotte, man. Gordon Hayward, 4 for 120. He's made over 200.
That's Chris's man's MJ. I don't know.
20.
I love him. So
Yeah, I
MJ,
know you did.
let's not get into this conversation.
Well, first of all, LeBron would out GM MJ and with his eyes closed
Oh my
because
God.
LeBron's
my
IQ is
God.
just I mean,
Well, it's different because LeBron is still playing.
but you get what I'm saying. The team LeBron would make. Come on.
Oh my God.
So, Chris, 4 for 120 million. How do you feel about this?
I think it's a lot of money.
Yeah, no shit.
I think it's a lot.
Even
I think
the years.
I think it's a lot of money.
Feels
How
a
old is
lot.
Gordon Hayward now?
30. But he's really like 34 with some of these injuries that he's had.
He's had some really bad luck with injuries. Gordon Hayward in Utah deserves that money. The Gordon Hayward in Boston did not. Now,
So unfortunate for him and the
Yeah.
Celtics, right? The first game he
Yeah.
plays, he gets hurt like that. And also it's Kyrie that
Against
threw on the
Cleveland,
pass
yep.
against Cleveland. I remember it was a TNT game.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, not even 2 years later, both those guys aren't on the team anymore.
look, I'll say one thing about Gordon Hayward. I think, and I followed his career since he was a rookie pretty much, even in college.
Well, I remember him at
Right.
Butler where he almost hit that shot
That
against
half-court
Duke
shot
from
against
half court.
Duke,
Yeah.
Right. I've been following his career.
Oh, that
since
that
then
Final
pretty
Four
much.
game was sick.
Yeah. And he's not a player to count out, right? Or just because he got paid, he's not gonna give it his all. He's gonna come into shape this season and be in the best possible shape he can be in, 100%. And look, as he gets older, obviously, not obviously, but it will probably seem like they've overpaid him. But it's also going to give a sense of professionalism to that team. That team hasn't really done anything.
He is an adult, right? Like you hear that get thrown around if you have a young core, you need some veteran guys. So I feel that. I don't feel that for $30 million a year, though.
Right, but how much did Denver pay Paul Millsap when they had him?
I think it was
with the young kids?
2 for 40 was like the deal.
He just resigned.
He
just resigned for 1 year, right? What did he get for that 1 year?
10.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
But at the time when he first got there, it was 2 for 40. So he was getting.
So Gordon Hayward last year averaged.
It might have been a little more, but.
Do you know what he averaged last year? Just like give me a guess, like.
I don't know, 13 points a game.
17 and 5.
17 and 5.
That's respectable.
Look,
for 130 million, I don't know about that, but he will produce. But
though.
He'll quietly go and give Charlotte what they need.
And he won't be head case either. He's not going to be the guy like, give me my shots.
He's going to play his role.
That guy.
That's LaMelo's team though. Like that kid's a stud, and he's going to be a franchise player. And I said it too. I actually tweeted. I said I think in 4 years he'll be the face of the NBA, one of the faces of the NBA.
Think LaMelo
1,000%. In one of the faces within the 4 years of the NBA, 100%.
Yeah, to go back to that, you're right. It was 3 for 90.
Yeah, he got $30 million a year.
Yeah, $30 million a year.
But they signed him to bring professionalism to a young team.
Yeah.
And he did have a positive impact on those players.
If you look at how it played out for Denver, you would sign up for that because it helped mature Murray and Jokic, and then you had those playoff runs too. So now you're a very.
They got Michael Porter
team.
Jr. there now, almost plays the same position, forward.
Yo, you like LaMelo that much?
I do. I really do. You guys are gonna be shocked.
What is it about him though?
He's just a bucket. Like I'm telling you, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. You know how Trae Young splashed onto the scene? That's literally gonna be LaMelo Ball. I'm telling you guys.
Trae Young's a baller. You think?
I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's gonna be
the initial impact in the wave.
That's what I'm saying. Like how he came into Atlanta. You're like, oh shit. Like the teams that passed up on him, the Knicks were one of them, right?
No.
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 The Trae Young.
No, we did not pass on Trae Young.
It was the Kings.
He went 5th overall. It was a swap. The Hawks had the 3rd pick. Dallas had the 5th pick. Dallas wanted to move up.
Wow, you have a really good memory.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's right. It was Ayton. So Ayton and then the Kings with Bagley.
With Bagley, yeah.
Kings and Marvin Bagley.
No, I think his impact will be, like big right away on their team, 100%. I don't think he's gonna make them a playoff team, but he's gonna go. He's gonna score. He's gonna shock a lot of people. I'm telling you. You got to understand something too. LaMelo Ball. Lonzo Ball, his older brother, who he's been scrimmaging against in his backyard since he was a baby, is a top defender in the NBA. And when they scrimmage and they play one-on-one, he's scoring buckets on him at will, like easily. And you think he's going to match up against like James Harden or whatever guard is going to try and check him, in a 5-on-5, full court.
Look,
I don't know. You're
going number 3 overall in the draft, right? You obviously have talent.
Should have went 1. He was the best player in that draft, in my opinion.
You think so?
100%.
Okay, we'll see.
You guys are gonna be pleasantly surprised. I'm telling you, he's one of my favorite players already. But you'll see.
I'm looking at some of these contracts. Does anyone know what's going on in Detroit? Like some of these deals are Mason Plumlee 3 for 25. You sign Grant.
Grant.
That was a good pickup.
I like him.
But was it $72 million 4 years?
It was 3 for 60.
3 for 6. 3 for 60?
Yeah.
They paid him like he was a superstar.
Well, I heard something about Grant that Denver gave him the same money, but he'd have a lesser role on Denver. Like he kind of wanted to be more of.
He was a big piece for Denver.
He was.
Oh yeah, he was a baller,
well,
man.
He was the athletic piece in the front court that they don't have to. Michael Porter Jr.
now is going to step into that role.
But can he play defensively?
Played well in the bubble, right?
Can
right.
Michael Porter Jr. play defensively the way Jeremy Grant did?
But he could score better than Jeremy Grant could. So you're going to upgrade somewhere.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to upgrade in every position. But he's a better scorer than Grant is. 1,000%.
Absolutely.
Shoots better, can get to the basket better.
Is that what
puts
that,
the ball on the floor
that
better.
team really needs, though, scoring?
That's also true.
No.
But they knew what they were getting when they drafted
I feel
him.
like Grant is a more defensive presence than
Absolutely.
Porter, too.
And that's what he's there for. He's an athletic wingman.
That's a lot, and they have a lot of money tied up in Blake Griffin too. Like, how old is Blake Griffin now? He's got to be 30.
Yeah, that was an awful contract.
Well, the Clippers signed him and then offloaded him to Detroit.
And Derrick Rose is still there, right?
I don't know if Derrick Rose is there.
Or is he
believe so.
Yeah, he's on.
Griffin is gonna be 31 this year. Yeah. Well, he's on the last year of his deal that he had with the Clippers. So
His last year of his deal?
Yeah, so he might be a guy that might get moved, right? Like you maybe
on his last year of his deal, yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
You always see that, like a guy gets
expiring contract,
like a rental sort of.
That's why someone that's like a Grant is a perfect example. Like he's a defensive presence, but the Nuggets aren't a defensive team. They're an offensive team.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very rare that you're gonna get a team that's like a all well-rounded defensive team. Like the Celtics, they're a good like well-rounded defensive team. You got the Lakers were a good round defensive team. The Raptors when they beat the Warriors and they were a good round defensive team.
And they were too.
But what it comes down to is, and always in basketball will be offensively in buckets.
I stand corrected. He has 2 years left on his deal. He has a player option for next year for $38 million. Which spoiler, breaking news. He's gonna accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, those are my favorite headlines, bro. Yeah. Where it's like Andre Drummond accepts the player option. It's
right.
like, yeah, no
it's
shit.
Like,
who's gonna give him $29 million? Yeah. A one-dimensional center. Yo, I didn't like that contract for like guys like Drummond from the beginning, man. And I get why you give it to him if you're Detroit, but
and they let Wood go. How do you let Wood go? How do you take Plumlee over Wood? That's essentially what they did.
Tell us about Wood, bro, because there's like the fourth mention, not on the podcast about Wood, but since we all got here that you were talking about him.
Well, he's a stud.
This year, I picked him up in basketball. He was crushing it for me.
So
he's gonna kill it in that system.
Yeah, no, he's a stud. Like I mean,
we'll see
D'Antoni's not there no more.
We'll see what system they actually.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But I mean, in terms of like, he's just a stretch big man. Like he can play on the block a little bit. He can step out and shoot it. He can shoot the three. He's a really good block.
He put up phenomenal numbers in 15 games, 20 games. Mm-hmm. It was phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
Can he do it for a whole season? Maybe.
No, this is his third season, I think.
No, for a full season.
Oh yeah.
For a full season.
Well, I
think he's a good player. I think he's a good player. Solid, and I think this is the opportunity to show people in the NBA that he's the real deal.
Yeah. I like him. I'm big on him. I was telling Josh when the Pistons didn't re-sign him. I'm like, yo. He's like, bro. He was agreeing. He's like, yo, I have no idea what they're doing. That's just typical Pistons.
I don't know why the Pistons let him go. Though,
it doesn't make any sense.
To your point exactly, Nick. Yeah. I would have.
For what? To get Plumlee?
If I don't know. I mean, maybe pay him a little more because there is that state tax difference in Texas. So he's getting there's a difference there in the percentage he actually cleans, but I still would pay him a slightly more to keep a guy like that. That's all upside. You don't let go of young guys like that.
A young stud, I'm telling you.
You don't let go of young possibles.
Yeah.
Possibles. That guy was a diamond.
No, he was playing like a stud.
The tax thing. I'm aware I'm about to say something really dumb.
No.
So I'm explaining this. People think about that, you think, when they're making a contract?
100%.
Absolutely.
So what if
Miami's the best place to go play?
Yeah, but Miami's also like a good team though, and like they have a culture. So I'm saying
I was just saying in general, like for baseball too, because the Marlins suck.
Any of the Texas teams in the last 20 years would have been good to play for. Dallas, San Antonio, or Houston. They were all pretty good teams. The San Antonio had a very, very, very good teams. Dallas also won a chip, and they were all three of those teams were like 50-win teams.
So what about like Orlando? They don't got taxes down in Florida like that.
No, they don't.
So like, is Orlando what I'm trying to ask and what I'm trying to get at, because I'm trying to bail myself out of this one because I realized how dumb it was. But if Orlando is a destination and Orlando wants you, do you want to go to a team that's going to win 28 games, even though you get more money because of the tax thing?
I mean, you weigh that. You know,
that's weighed into the decision.
You weigh into your decision. And you're like, I'm going to make a little bit more money net, but I'd rather be in this situation or in this city. That depends. Like that's on you to make that decision. But, certain states have competitive advantages that other ones don't. Sometimes it's state tax. Sometimes it's the city.
Right.
You know?
Man, that's so it puts teams in such a hole then. Because you have to have one or the other, right? Like,
yeah, look, it makes it harder for. That's why the NBA has made it much easier to keep your draft picks because they don't want talent leaving the smaller cities who don't have the competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's where the Supermax deal came into play to keep your guy if he makes
right, like because a star player will just walk and go to a bigger. Now that doesn't happen. Like we spoke about this before with social media, obviously. You don't need to be in a big market to be a big market player anymore. Mm-hmm. You can be a big market player in a small market.
Right,
with social media. But it's a lot of the rules in the NBA and the contracts have been changed to benefit the smaller market teams to keep their stud players in the draft. Because to get a player like Anthony Davis on the Pelicans, right? Generational player. The rules were meant to keep him there as long as possible. If you could only keep a player like that for 4 years and then have to reset your entire system, I think the Pelicans are probably the smallest market team in the NBA, if not one of the smallest. For sure, I think New Orleans is one of the smallest market teams.
OKC's got to be right there too.
Yeah, I mean, some of these cities are at disadvantages for sure, because people love to live in LA, right?
Yeah, Miami too.
People love to live in California, period. Mm-hmm. Right? Miami, people love to live in Miami, and it's got the state tax difference. New York City is New York City. It'll always be in New York City. It's like if you make it in New York City, if you're the guy in New York City, the first stud player who wins a championship in New York City is gonna be the legend.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the legend. Like it won't matter.
I might name my son after him.
Yeah, like
a city like New York, you're in such a hellhole because you have the tax situation and the organization blows.
Yeah, but you're gonna make.
And the media here is worse than anywhere in the world.
Ridiculous money on your endorsements. If you're the biggest player in the Knicks and you are,
that's also true.
Winning,
you'll make it up on the back end.
Oh my God!
But
you'll always have a job.
But what about the media?
And you always have a. Look at guys like Victor Cruz and Michael Strahan.
Bro.
Look at these guys.
Yeah.
They're legends.
A-Rod too.
Yo, for Thanksgiving, my grandma was like, "Oh, he's from the Good Morning America." I was like, "No, he's a legend. He's a Super Bowl champion."
But I'm saying, you see how he appeals to every crowd, right?
And they can dabble in fashion. They can dabble in media. They can dabble in anything in New York City, and that's not necessarily true in other.
That's
cities.
a really good point. But the other thing too, though, it has its pros and cons. The media here is worse.
The media,
anywhere,
it rips apart players.
The media drives players out.
Absolutely. So
that's why I think KD came to New York, but he didn't come to New York. He went to Brooklyn. So that's another.
There's a difference.
There's a huge difference. It says Brooklyn on the jersey. It doesn't say New York.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
It's a big difference.
That's one.
They're not going to get the scrutiny the way the Knicks do.
That's what I'm saying.
The way a Knicks player would have got.
Of course not. But a lot of that has to do with KD. I think he's sensitive, making burner accounts, tweeting at people.
It was. I think it was
that definitely played into his decision.
It was. I think Fat Joe was like, "Yo, he's not built to be in New York."
That's what not a lot of
and
people.
And they were like,
are.
"Yo, Brooklyn." He's like, "Nah, I'm talking about being a Knick."
Yeah, like there's a certain type of mentality. You got to be a certain type of player to play in New York. Period. Right. It's really easy to get distracted in New York City.
That's another thing too. Yeah.
Right. Especially when you make that big money and you're like, "Oh, I'm the man in the city now," and you're going to Fashion Week and you're going to these beautiful restaurants. I mean, not anymore, obviously, but when life was normal.
You could go to Tony's place.
Right. There you go. Tony's place.
But even them, if you're a professional athlete, I'm sure that any restaurant will open up for you too. So you still have the perks. You might not have the people.
Right. But what I mean is the flash.
Right. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Right? And you get that in other cities too, not just New York City. I mean, we're from New York, so we know New York.
But it's also known as the city. Wherever you go, you're like, "Yo, I'm from the city." They're like, "Oh, so you're from New York."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I was at a frat party in Buffalo, and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from the city." And they're like, "Oh, like downtown Buffalo?" I was like, "No." I said something really wild.
Could you imagine?
For that, but I was like, No, I'm from like the city is New York City. When you go to Vegas,
Yeah,
and you tell people like, "Yeah, I'm from the city, from New York." They're like, "Oh shit!" Like you get it.
This is like ignorant too, because I went upstate and like you're from the city. It's the same thing. No one would ever refer to like Buffalo like as a city in Buffalo. You're like, I didn't even know there was a city in Buffalo. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yo, I love Buffalo, man. I don't want to trash them though.